everyone, welcome to the Boujee Healer Show. I'm here with Izzy Ivy. It's so good to have you here. We're here in Mount Shasta, and I'm going to share a little bit about her beautiful gifts that she's created. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Gayle. It's really beautiful to be here.
So good to have you, honestly. And I've been introduced to her work a long time ago. She has these beautiful card decks. You guys might recognize them, and her art, a lot of Lemurian art in there. So I'm just going to start by asking some questions about like what inspires your work, and let's just start with like how you got into all of this beautiful artwork that you started creating.
Thank you. Yeah, great question. Well, I wasn't a painter my whole life. Both my parents actually were, and of course I had to rebel somewhere along the line, so I didn't want to be a painter until actually my Saturn return. Somebody introduced me to oil paints, and my life basically changed overnight.
Wow.
And it was like a whole 180-degree shift in my life, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm here to do on this planet.
Wow. So you had no like formal training, you just started painting and creating?
Well, I mean, I've always been creative my whole life, and have a pretty good imagination and a connection, I guess, to the other realms, you could say. But actually, it was probably maybe 5 years before I started painting that I was getting a lot of what I would now call downloads.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were when they first started happening. But yeah, the first one was particularly profound, and it was all all about my life in Lemuria, and actually seeing my physical body like transparent with my like elongated limbs, and like just memories of different kind of lifetimes I've had there. And
would you mind going into that more, because I know a lot of people, especially in my community, they have a connection to Lemuria, and that's why I'm here in Mount Shasta, and you have a connection here. It's part of Lemuria. How did that like really come through to you? Were you just meditating, or how did you get that activation, that connection memory?
Yeah, well, I've never, I guess, really ever felt completely from here, but I didn't entirely know what that meant. I had more of a connection with, you know, fairies and just multidimensional beings that were more connected to nature, in that just sort of the flowing with the harmony of nature and the elements and all of that. And growing up in the UK, I was always pretty obsessed with like the sacred sites and all the different like stone circles there. But in terms of actually Lemuria, curiously, well, I was in Australia at the time, and it's not like Hawaii or Shasta where people, you know, it's a word that people are familiar with. And actually, I was doing just weekly meditations with my teacher at the time, and she always turned up no matter how many people were there. And there was one occasion where there was just me and her, and she basically was just like, well, let's try something different this time. And as soon as I lay down, I started to actually really physically see my body change and feel that shift. And then she did kind of like guide me through, and it was just like, where are you? You know, what are you, how, you know, what does your body look like? What does the environment look like? How did you die actually? And all these different aspects, which were really powerful. But I didn't really understand, I didn't know what Lemuria was. So as I was like exploring, you know, in the internet, and just like being like, well, what are these like semi-transparent magical beings that are like telepathic, and you know, there's this really deep harmonious nature. But during that first experience, I did have, you know, a life shift, because what they showed to me was this concept of no-scarcity, and was this ability to you know, manifest anything at will. So I was living in like a mud hut in nature, like deep in the forest amongst all the ferns, but because I could manifest anything at will, I also lived in a crystalline castle in the sky.
Wow.
I could.
Yeah.
And that really shifted something for me when I came back, because there was this whole notion of like, if you can create anything at will, then you don't need to hold on to something. You know, you don't need to hold on to like physical objects or there was just this natural aspect of just like letting things overflow. I did a painting about it, actually. It's in Beyond Lemuria.
Oh, it is? What is that painting?
It's called The Overflow.
The Overflow. We'll have to tune into that one.
That's a favorite.
Yeah, and it feels like every time I see your artwork, it's so activating, and there are light codes in it, correct? So how did that come about, you start channeling light codes into your art?
Yeah, that was also an interesting first experience. There was one night where I actually really deep dived into a painting that when I was starting out, I actually just loved spirit teaching me how to paint. I guess actually you asked me the question about if I'd had like prior experience as a painter. I mean, I guess I couldn't exactly not see my parents doing what they were doing around me when I was younger. But I do feel like a lot of the teachings I've had have been through letting the divine guidance within me dance through me. I have had some, I've done a little bit of learning from others, but yeah, a lot of it has come from this like exploration space. Remind me that question again.
The light codes.
The light codes.
Yeah, people really, I've helped people activate their light language and help it come through. And people are just like, what is light language? What are light codes? And what would you say? Like, what would you explain light codes as when it comes to your artwork and what it's shown you?
No, I'm really, I feel like light codes are such a powerful and interesting notion, and it feels like all around the world it's really coming online for people. And what's so fascinating is it seems like we can actually activate each other literally by hearing or just seeing, even just once. I guess it's because it's that whole notion of remembering. It's like it's already in our fields, and it's like we're all like reminding each other. But for me, the first experience of the light codes coming through was just a really like intuitive deep dive into a painting. It's actually called Initiation. It's the very first card in Beyond Lemuria, and the first set of codes came through, and it was interesting because I'd never seen anything like that before. But I knew it was a very powerful piece, but it was pretty cool some years later noticing that there were other artists or other people that also had like really similar glyphs. So I was like, well, there's definitely something to this. Obviously that was just like the energetic feeling, but I was just like, this is more than just like random shapes. But actually over the years I've had, I guess, 5 different, like you could say, initiations into different types of light codes, and each one has very different style of the glyph. So for me, for years it was very much more like written like that, like there's so many ways of receiving it. But yeah, as I say, for me it was imbued in the artwork through like symbolism. But I also feel like, for instance, Beyond Lemuria, my first deck, people often ask like, are you actually depicting like Lemurian beings? And to some degree I am, but actually most of it feels like personified concepts, essentially light codes in the form of like visual images. So when people interact or interface with the images, it's like their the information is being shared to their heart. And I think this is the thing as well with light codes, as I'm sure you're aware of, and it's it's that way of communicating very powerful multidimensional information through the heart, like bypassing the mind and the intellect. Like there's a glass ceiling when it comes to like what we can be sharing in that linear method, and just like emitting this information. And one of my first downloads when I was really curious about it many years ago, I received that it was like if one glyph, just like one single symbol, is like a library's worth of information. When there's a full array, or like a full sentence, if you like, of light codes, you're essentially creating so much multidimensional information. You're essentially, creating worlds, portals, whatever you want to call it. So it's very, very profound information.
That is probably the like most profound and well put together explanation of light codes I've ever heard.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I got chills because you're right. It speaks directly to the heart, and like people can awaken memories from it. And just by, you know, you can feel it in your artwork. You can feel it in the frequency. And I didn't know that this was your first deck. This was actually, I've had this one for a very long time. It was one of my favorite decks, and it connected me to Mount Shasta. Yeah, so it's a really special deck for me and the people that, you know, come here and experience things with me in Mount Shasta. So that's another thing I wanted to ask, like, this is where we connected, and this has been a connection for you, a home for you. What drew you to Mount Shasta?
It's funny because Beyond Lemuria has really been coming up a lot. I mean, I've created a few other decks since then, but I mean, originally I wasn't actually going to do the writing for this first deck.
Okay.
There was somebody else that was going to do that. And actually, it didn't really align, you know? There was a few very tuned in people that intuitively contacted me and said, you're going to write an oracle deck, you're going to write it. And I was like, how do you even know I'm creating one right now? But I also, you know, I'm dyslexic, so I was like, oh, I'm no good at writing, that's not something I could imagine seeing myself doing. And then the person that was going to do the writing actually had a dream that it was supposed to be me that was going to write it. And I guess the thing is, like, when I read her messages, although like beautiful, they didn't really fit with the images, which makes sense. And it was actually interesting, you know, like sometimes when you just need to see something that isn't a fit that makes you inspired to kind of create the fit. So I was like, no, I don't need to write it. And then I sort of like reading and I'm like, well, actually I know the story behind every painting, and there was such a transmission involved during the process of creating each piece, right? That there is definitely a story that goes with each one, and you know, like a little nugget of you know, wisdom.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as I had like the surrender that it was going to be me that was going to write it, I had this wave of inspiration, and a download came through. And it basically, the first thing it said was, you're going to go to Mount Shasta and you're going to sit on the mountain and do a painting and receive the codes, whatever that means. And I was like, well, I've never been to America before. Like, where is this place? And sure enough, miraculously, I'd probably like 7 or 8 months later, I find myself on the mountain doing just that. And I didn't really understand what I'd created. But it wasn't until I actually wrote this section of that card that I realized that it did indeed hold the codes for the whole deck, because there's these little different activations that you can do with the cards with different movements over the top of them. And I was like, it's one of those moments where you're kind of like crying because you're just like, oh my god, this is so perfect and so profound. So that really just kind of initiated that for me.
And do you feel like with every card and every deck, you've just been completely initiated into new levels of your own path of ascension?
Absolutely. I have to say, like, I call it university, you know, and the more I show up with doing this, the more the universe gives me these different soul assignments, as I call them. But the curious thing is, as well, is that I mean, each deck has kind of had its own journey, but for instance, the Light Code Apothecary, the newer one, this one I actually almost joke and I say it's for starseeds to help find their human. You know, it's like one thing for us to, you know, be like, oh, what starseed am I? And I'm like, well, there's actually a lot of us that have awakened. And actually coming back into the physical and mastering that aspect is really, really important. There's so many people like awakening. It's like being a kid in the sweet shop for the astral, you know, and to have some really like inspiring or uplifting direction. But it's all about like maintaining your light no matter what, you know, kind of thing. That was actually, it was a curious one because I created Unveiling the Golden Age, and that was an extremely expanded and very, very channeled deck. And my guides after I finished that one were like, well, we're not going to give you any more epic downloads until you've mastered your human. Like, you can't go up anymore.
That's amazing.
Exactly. I knew that there was another deck on the horizon that was actually very galactic, and that's the one I'm working on right now.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. I can't wait for that one.
It has me traveling the world to secret sites and doing all kinds of fun stuff, but that's in progress. But they were like, before you do that, you've got to get back into your body. So really, like with this one, for instance, it was my like dedication to walking the path of exploring you know, all of those aspects of basically just being able to hold my center no matter what's going on. It's not all like grounded and like serious 3D stuff. It's like inspiring elements of just being able to navigate different moments and you know, come back to the heart and come back to the center. But when I lens that, it's like it's not like I'm this master at this process. It's more like, hey, walk with me, guys, on my pledge to also do this.
I love that.
And as I did, as with all of the decks, I would find myself in all kinds of different circumstances that would basically align with that mission, I suppose. And yeah, as I say, like every card, and this, you know, like for all of those that are creating oracle decks right now, and tarot cards, it's such a journey, because for every painting that you do that is aligning to that specific frequency of information, at least in my experience, I've had to live each one. So there's definitely some upgrades that happen in there. And then there's also moments like when you actually come to completion with it and you're just like, phew.
You went through initiation time.
100%.
And I think that's why a lot of people, like pretty much everyone I know knows Izzy Ivy's deck, you know, and your work. And I think we all really connect with that authenticity of it. Like I did not know that about, you know, your initiations, your journey, just being a part of every card here. And that just shows like why we all feel really connected to it, because it's truly a collective thing. That we all walk through these things together. And I feel like that's why, you know, people align with my work too, because like we're not up here, you know, we're not telling people this is how to do it. We're saying walk with us, you know. And I love that about you. You're so authentic, you know. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Okay, you've accessed some real manifestation codes. And I know a lot of people, like I'm finishing my book, and I know a lot of people are doing books and artwork and card decks. A lot of people want to create things like this, but haven't quite activated it yet. You know, so what was it that you were just like, what was that feeling like, I'm just gonna do this, I'm just gonna get started? Was it like immediate, like I just gotta go now? How was that?
You know, I think one of the key aspects is that it felt like it was a step-by-step process. I think even with the first deck, had I known that I was going to create an oracle deck at the beginning, I might have been too overwhelmed to start it. And I do feel like it was given to me sort of incrementally, piece by piece. And, you know, once I've done one, then I'm like, all right, well, I am actually going to create another deck. And then I'm like, well, I'm actually going to create 2 decks that are kind of integrated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on my 5th deck now, and it just doesn't really faze me. But it's like sometimes I think we can get like kind of gripped or like in our own way with trying to see such the bigger overarching picture. I like to think that the guides that we're working with are aware of our 3D nature when they do give us this information. Sometimes it's like, okay, can you slow down with the information, because I'm not in the 12D right now. It takes a little bit of more time to actually bring things into manifestation in this dimension. But at the same time, I think, first of all, I think if you're just really excited and inspired with it, you just can't not do it. You know how it is? I'm sure you've also completely experienced that. You know, like when we have these soul callings that are connected to our life mission, even if it doesn't make sense to our intellect or whatever, there's this internal drive where we just feel so lit up and passionate about it. And it's not about the money, it's not about this, that, and the other. It's like, there's just like burning inspiration. And the more we even just like nudge our way over to it, we start to experience these like synchronicities and just meeting the right person at the right time, or like these different things that are just like confirming. But I think there is also just this aspect of, you know, for those that are feeling inspired but don't know where to start or don't know how to like carve out the time for it, I think it's just to start it. You know, it's like, even if it's just for a couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon, like just start with something. And also there's all of this stuff about perfection and everything in there too. And I just do really feel like there is this inner wisdom that is so much more vast than we actually realize. You know, when we actually start tapping into this information, it's not what we have accrued necessarily in our own like learnings in lifetimes. It's almost like we start to have access to all of our infinite versions of ourselves, you know. So it can, you know, some of the classes that I teach with, you know, some of these intuitive painting offerings, people are often just like, I can't believe I did that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's creating from a different place.
Wow.
So
that's so beautiful. You're accessing more of your multidimensionality.
Yeah.
So you're getting out of the mind and more in the heart. And I feel like that is New Earth.
Exactly.
That's how we access more of that. And, you know, that's what I want to get everybody always wants to know, like, what is New Earth? What is the new Lemuria? What is happening with the shift? And so, you know, that's obviously you have a passion for bringing those remembrance codes in. What do you feel like, you know, the shift we are in? What do you feel is happening with the earth right now and like shifting into that Lemurian awakening?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely things are interesting on the planet right now. And I do believe like a true like healer or a true light is one that shines into all the corners. So as we're going through the process of raising the frequency, we might be thinking like, oh wow, it looks even worse than how it was before kind of thing. But it's like as the torch is shone in all those little spots, actually, you know, awareness is being able to like shine through. And you know, it's just like as we do shadow work within ourselves, there's a collective aspect of that happening. But I do feel like there is definitely progress. Like even when you think about, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, some of the ways that we were doing things. It was quite a bit more brutal than it is today. You know, there is progress. And I think just a lot more of it is just being, you know, things that have been under the table are being revealed more. So it's like not to lose hope, but it's just like this kind of clearing process. But I think honestly, one of the key aspects is community and feeling that interconnectedness with kind of light tribe around the planet. Because I think there are going to be moments as we, you know, like second guess ourselves, or, you know, the mind is like really wondering what on earth we're doing kind of thing. Even if we felt like passionate about our soul mission, and, you know, there are these moments where you just meet that right person at that right time and they just give you that little affirming code or whatever it is. And then you're like, wait, oh, that's right. I'm going this way, you know? So I feel like just the fact that, you know, we're all kind of interconnected and staying in touch in the different ways that we are. I think that's really important. But yeah, I mean, for me, it feels like an overlay. It feels like essentially it's already here. And there are definitely places like Shasta where we were able to like literally tap into that dimensionality. But I do really feel like with all of it, the key is to just being able to raise your frequency. Like that is one of the main ways that we can access the new earth, because it's, as I say, if it's like an overlay, we can kind of literally just shift at will our frequency into a match for it. And that's not to talk about, that's not to say spiritual bypassing. Like the way we can raise our frequency is actually to do the inner work so that we don't get those moments of trigger as much, you know, we can watch it playing out and be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this because of that. It doesn't completely consume us, because when we get consumed by it, that's when our frequency really does drop, and it's like, well, how do I even climb back out of this? But I think the work is to just be able to maintain that frequency and know that we live in a dual reality. And kind of come to acceptance with that, and know that there might be challenging times in a day, and there might be those that are more uplifting and inspiring, but that we can just sort of maintain that inner light. So what would you say to somebody who's like, how do I do that? Because you know, I have people ask me all day long, like, how can I get into alignment? You're obviously in alignment. I've reached a level of alignment too, where we're doing what we love for the collective. We are helping people raise their frequency, and everybody wants to be in that place of alignment, right? And be abundant and prosperous and be supported doing it, so they can continue to do that work and be the channel. And if somebody feels stuck, like, what would be, you know, some words of wisdom you could share of how you can move into maintaining that balance more often, so it becomes more of a natural state? Well, I have to say, there are different facets to it, and that was the sole inspiration for creating the Like Code Apothecary. Really? Like 100%. And there's 70 different ways that you can do that.
Wow.
Not to like plug it, but I literally like this, you know, some of my other decks have been really like fun visually, and it's, you know, but this really felt like I also wanted this for myself, you know. It was this actually came through in the middle of the night, where I was just like staring up at the ceiling and being like, wow, why does this stuff keep happening or whatever? And the voice replied, it was supposed to be a rhetorical question. It was like, because you're made to make a deck about it. I was like, okay. And then once I like surrendered to that, literally within 24 hours, I had all the, just like the content of it. But I mean, essentially it's split into 5 different categories: air, fire, water, and ether.
Okay.
But like, it pertains to the question essentially. So there's the earth aspect. So there's all this aspect, there's the embodiment element. So, you know, just learning to like sit back in your body, you know, like, I mean, connecting with nature, like there's so many things that are connected to just being okay in the physical, because you know there's that whole notion that sometimes we just want to go out when we feel not so great,
right?
But actually when we're feeling not so great, the thing to do is to find those tools that work for you to bring you back in, because if we're constantly going out, especially when we're not feeling great, that gives other energies opportunities to take residence, and that's when, you know, that feels not very good. And we need some help, you
overwhelm, anxiety, feeling lost.
Exactly. So there's a big section on the embodiment, which is the earth, and then the air aligns to just to be able to like clear communication and allowance of emotions to be shared in, you know, like energy in motion, like to be able to be present with it. And then there's the fire section, which is, you know, around, you know, triggers and owning it and not being a victim and actually looking within and being like, okay, what is this? Why is this situation making me feel like really terrible? Is it my stuff or is it something else?
Right.
Or somebody else's? And then that leads me to the water section, which is all about clearing and cleansing. And I do feel like having an awareness around energetic hygiene is so important. And I think it's not something that we're really taught. And, you know, like just doing different clearings or having like an affirmation or a prayer that's really accessible, that you just know that when you go into a place and you pick up stuff that just doesn't feel like yours, you can just do it and say it and it's done, you know. So there's a whole section on that. And then finally the ether section is all just about fundamental wisdom truths, and that is just our inspiration to just, you know, there's a lot of people that are very inspiring that have come through in their different avatars, you know, throughout humanity, and there's just sometimes we just need to have that little aha moment, and that reminds us back to our infinite consciousness. So that's like
that's this deck.
That's that deck, but essentially answering it is there's different facets to it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel so in resonance with everything you just said, and I think I'm still diving into this deck, and I've been using it with my community, my online meditations, and I'm like, now I'm understanding a little more of like where the guidance is coming from and how this is really an embodiment deck. And like, this is something we were really connecting on the other night, is like how important, because we awaken to all of these things, we're star seeds, we have these different origins, and we come in and we activate them. And then it's like, what now? and I want to do this and I want to do that, but we're up here getting all this information and downloads and activation that we forget sometimes that we have to sit in the body and we have to learn how to integrate these things. And I think that's the path you've been on and taking everyone with you, is like, okay, we got to remind ourselves to implement these tools. And I think that what you just told me is like, you're offering a lot of tools in these decks, you're offering a lot of tools in your teachings, and that's what we all need, because they're just tools along the way that maybe you've used or it's been downloaded into you that everybody could benefit from, to feel more in their body and in alignment. So when somebody's wondering like, how did you create all this, how did you get to live, you know, your alignment and purpose, well, here's all the codes, right?
It's all there. It's all
yeah. Like, here's the codes. You want to know? Open the deck. And would you say it's just an intuitive thing when somebody's working with these decks? It's just an intuitive, the way they're pulling the cards, or like, what would you suggest how to work with these cards?
Yeah, well, I mean, each deck that I've created is so different from each other. Like, I never wanted to like just do a replica of another one. It's like, oh, this is working, I'll do another one of those. They're so different from each other. So, I mean, for instance, Unveiling the Golden Age is based on the traditional tarot. Actually wasn't intended to, but when I got to my like 70th card, I was like, oh, I wonder what happens if I like check in and kind of compare it to the existing tarot. And I actually prefer to not explore other information and then see if there is that corroboration. And I was just like, oh my god, everything aligns. It was like, wow, the blueprint is so strong. And so with the final images, like I kind of just brought it into alignment with it. But that deck, you know, you can use the traditional tarot method for picking the cards. And of course, like that deck is also a guided journey tool for facilitators guiding groups. So the whole group can choose a card, and then there's a journey that's kind of based on the overarching energies of the group, like the healing.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
I'll have to use that.
Yeah,
nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that one is definitely not just a deck, and it also has all this stuff on crystal gridding as well in there.
Ooh.
So that's the other one. But but then when it comes to this deck, the recent one that I created. The art is in the shuffle, actually, funnily enough. It's a very, very simple deck to use, but it's also in having a moment and really connecting with the deck when you first use it. So there's no fancy spreads or anything. It's really like, first of all, and it's written in the introduction, but it's, you know, like, first of all, there's you actually aligning it with your guides so that they can be like a conduit, or like they can be the ones that are you know, helping you with the right card that wants to come at that moment.
Right.
And then it's also about just putting your intention in when, you know, you're choosing the card. But yeah,
amazing.
The idea of this one is that it's just like super, you know, easy for anybody. And one could actually just read the book, like from start to finish, and it be like a handbook for just like navigating the human experience.
Amazing. Wow. This is so powerful. And for those of you who haven't worked with cards yet, this is just, it's an intuitive thing, right?
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's working with your guides, and the message that comes through is usually in resonance with everyone that I know that pulls a card. They're like, oh wow, yeah, this is perfect in alignment. So it's really an intuitive channel thing, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, there's no like right or wrong way to do it.
No, exactly. And like, you know, there's the paintings themselves hold a lot of information. So if, you know, someone's not really into reading the words of, you know, the meanings, like that's completely fine too. I actually encourage people to just to glean their own understanding of what the card is visually saying. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you teach workshops all around the world about, you know, how to paint and channel painting. Yeah. Do you do other workshops, and is that your main thing that you're teaching people?
Yeah, I was touring anchoring light for quite some years, and recently there's 2 other classes that have come through: Etheric Wings of Light and Crystalline Light Codes. So now there's 3, and they are really about the combination of, well, honestly, one of the biggest things that has been profound during my painting experience has been really wanting to capture light and magic and iridescence. And I was actually doing a lot of energy work for probably like 10 years before I became an artist. So when I was painting, I really wanted to capture some of this, you know, like the Reiki energy, like this, you know, crystalline rainbow iridescence. Like it was something that I felt really passionate about, creating something that literally looked and felt like magic. Yeah. So there's like actually quite a lot of different techniques that I figured out over the years. And basically the workshops are a combination of learning these techniques that are accessible for really anybody without experience, because it's guided so step by step. But it's also set in like a ceremonial container. Wow. And there's lots of like meditations and activations that are sprinkled all the way through it. Wow. Because there's this whole aspect on getting out of your own way. Because that was the other thing that was so big and life-changing for me as a painter. I just got so much better at my creative process when I got out of my own way and just let spirit dance me. And so there's a really big emphasis on that in the different classes.
That's so beautiful. And do you notice that anybody that comes to the class, even if they're a beginner, they can create something beautiful?
Totally. Yeah, there's usually like 50% of the class is a beginner, and then 50% have had experience. So, but it all kind of aligns how it's meant to. People are
So
pretty
cool.
surprised at what they create.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so awesome. And do you have any,
Sweet.
do you plan on doing any future workshops?
Yeah, I've got something coming up in Sedona in October, mid-October, and also in Hawaii. We're doing an extended version actually with a friend who is also going to be expanding it into a week-long Lemurian portal journey.
Wow.
Which should be really awesome. That's going to be in November. And also there's going to be something in Denver at the end of this month.
Wow.
So that's happening. And then there's some online stuff as well.
Beautiful. And you have a website?
I do indeed.
What is your website?
It's izzyivart.com.
Awesome. And that's where everybody can find all of your stuff, upcoming workshops and everything. That's awesome. I'm going to have to do one myself. I can't wait. Yeah. Awesome. So was there anything else that you would like to share with the collective right now? Message, anything?
I think if there's something that you feel inspired to do, just do it. You know, like people often ask like, oh, what's my life purpose? What am I here on the planet for? And then there's also that thing that they really want to do, but they just keep pushing it off until it's like a tomorrow thing. Mm-hmm. That tomorrow thing is probably the thing that you're meant to that's the thing you're most meant to be doing. And that will bring you, as you know, the joy and the bliss and the excitement of, the passion of bringing it into creation. So
that's like the best advice ever. Thank you for sharing that. And I like, for fun, can we pull a card?
Yeah.
Let's pull from this deck. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Would you like to do the honors? Maybe I'll do it.
You do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like
this is like also one of the most beautiful decks. And just this artwork, all of it is so beautiful. And I'm not a fancy shuffler. Like, this is my shuffle.
Really perfect.
Okay, and then we're just gonna pull one card and see what comes through. I am loved. I am love. Heart chakra. We have two cards. Ooh. We needed two to come through, and the second one is your body knows. Listen to your body. Learn how it speaks. Oh, I love these.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a nice message.
It's a good one that goes together. Also, you know, this is the heart chakra one is really powerful to me. And I look at it and I feel it in my heart. And these energies and frequencies, and your body knows. Listen to your body, listen to how it speaks. And then you have this light code here. It's just wow. So here we are, a little card pull for everybody here. Thank you for sharing your beautiful codes with the world.
So welcome.
And I'm really, really excited for everything that's coming for you. I know you have some really big things planned in your mission coming soon, as I can see and know and feel. And I'm really grateful for you bringing through the codes and trusting the divine and your guidance and inspiring everybody by just living it, right? So thank you for everything you do for the collective.
Thank you so much. Thank you for seeing it.
Yeah. So izzyivart.com is your website. That's right. And you can find her on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
It's Izzy_Ivy_art.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I'll put all our info below. So thank you, Izzy Ivy, for joining us here in Mount Shasta. And hope you guys check her stuff out. I know a lot of you guys already probably have her cards, so now you know the whole story and the root of where it all comes from. Beautiful Lemurian codes. So grateful. And just comment below, activate if you guys want free access to an upcoming workshop that I have, and I'll DM you more info. And see you soon next time on the Boujee Healer Show. Thank you, everyone.